If you're reading this, it means he was right again. I don't know how long this post will stay up. Maybe minutes, maybe hours. But I need someone, anyone, to see it before it disappears like the others. Before I disappear, there's a user on Reddit who knows things he shouldn't. I don't mean the usual creepypasta level of weird coincidences. I mean details, intimate, impossible details. Things about my life no one could ever guess. Down to what shirt I'm wearing right now, the exact number of crumbs on my desk, the words I mutter in my sleep. He predicted strangers' deaths before. Some laughed it off. Some begged him to stop. All of them went quiet eventually. And now it's my turn. I've spent the last 3 nights trying to figure out how he does it. I thought maybe it was a hoax, maybe some elaborate ARG, maybe a troll with too much free time and a taste for paranoia. But the closer I looked, the clearer it became. This isn't just some game. Every second that passes is dragging me closer to the timestamp he gave me, the one that has my name written next to it. So I'm writing this as my final post. A confession, a warning, a breadcrumb trail for whoever finds this next. Because if his pattern holds, it won't stop with me. And if you think you're safe, you're wrong. It always starts the same way. It started with me, on a sleepless night, scrolling Reddit like always. My nights always looked the same. Same desk, same chair, same pale glow of the monitor bleeding into an otherwise silent apartment. I'd sit there with a half-empty can of soda sweating beside the keyboard, crumbs from some late-night snacks scattered across my shirt, and the ever-present hum of my old desktop fan filling the silence. I told myself I wasn't addicted, that I could quit the endless scrolling whenever I wanted. But it was easier to let the hours dissolve into an ocean of Reddit threads than to face the quiet, especially r/Nosleep. That subreddit was my guilty pleasure. He doesn't even notice the soda sweating on the desk, or how sticky the keys are from the chips he keeps eating. I sat back, my hand still hovering over the mouse. My heart thudded as I glanced down. There were crumbs on my shirt, a ring of condensation on the desk where the soda can sat, and the fan, yes, humming in its tired, rattling rhythm. I laughed at first, a nervous, hollow sound that echoed back at me from the walls of my empty apartment. Okay, I muttered to no one. Weird coincidence. Lucky guess. But the post didn't stop there. He doesn't know yet, but his blinds are uneven, one slat bent at the edge, letting the streetlight leak in. He'll look in a second. He always does when he gets paranoid. I froze, because the blinds were bent. That one crooked line of light had always bugged me, and almost without thinking, I turned to look at it. And then I snapped my gaze back to the screen, my throat dry. No one else in the comments seemed to notice. In fact, there weren't any comments at all. The thread just sat there like a ghost town, no upvotes, no reactions, like it only existed for me. I refreshed. Still there. Still empty. A troll, I told myself. Someone I knew messing with me. But how would they know about the blinds? About the soda? About the exact words I had just muttered under my breath? It wasn't possible. I closed the tab. I told myself I wouldn't think about it again. Just another creepy post in a sea of them. Just some random night on Reddit, nothing more. But later that week, when another post by you/Final Hour appeared, and again described something no stranger could possibly know, I stopped laughing. Because the coincidences weren't coincidences anymore, and the predictions were only getting darker. At first, I clung to the idea that it was just a coincidence. Some freakishly observant troll with too much time on their hands. Someone who knew me somehow. Maybe a neighbor spying through the window. Maybe even an old friend trying to screw with me. But the more I watched, the less I could convince myself of that. Because you/Final Hour didn't just write about me. He wrote about others too. The next thread I saw was titled something vague, like, "Tomorrow, the lights will turn red for him, and he won't stop." The post itself was short, barely 2 sentences. It described a man driving late at night, distracted, running through an intersection. The description included the exact street name and the make of the car. I remember staring at it, almost amused. This is stupid, I told myself. It's just made-up horror writing. But the following day, a news story popped up on my feed. Fatal car accident at that exact intersection. Same make of car. Same time. I tried to shrug it off. People die every day. Accidents happen all the time. But then there was another post. This one was about a woman. A username I didn't recognize tagged in the title. You/redacted, won't wake up tomorrow. The post described her bedroom in uncanny detail. The floral blanket, the cracked phone screen on her nightstand, the pills rattling in a half-empty bottle beside her bed. When I went back to check on it a day later, the post was gone. Deleted. The account tagged in the title? Silent. No new posts, no comments. Just gone. And then it kept happening. Predictions slipped into the feed like knives hidden in soft words. Some were poetic. He'll choke on his last laugh, the joke still half-formed on his lips. Others were blunt. At 9:47 p.m. tomorrow, she'll fall. I tried to cross-reference them. At first, there was nothing. No proof. But give it a day or two, and the headlines appeared. Local news, obscure Twitter accounts, sometimes even GoFundMe pages. Each one fit the prophecy too perfectly to ignore. And the strangest part? Every time he was right, the comments vanished. Entire threads wiped clean, like nobody had ever been there in the first place. Maybe even an old friend trying to screw with me. But the more I watched, the less I could convince myself of that. Because you/Final Hour didn't just write about me. He wrote about others too. The next thread I saw was titled something vague, like, "Tomorrow, the lights will turn red for him, and he won't stop." The post itself was short, barely 2 sentences. It described a man driving late at night, distracted, running through an intersection. The description included the exact street name and the make of the car. I remember staring at it, almost amused. This is stupid, I told myself. It's just made-up horror writing. But the following day, a news story popped up on my feed. Fatal car accident at that exact intersection. Same make of car. Same time. I tried to shrug it off. People die every day. Accidents happen all the time. But then there was another post. This one was about a woman. A username I didn't recognize tagged in the title. You/redacted, won't wake up tomorrow. The post described her bedroom in uncanny detail. The floral blanket, the cracked phone screen on her nightstand, the pills rattling in a half-empty bottle beside her bed. When I went back to check on it a day later, the post was gone. Deleted. The account tagged in the title? Silent. No new posts, no comments. Just gone. And then it kept happening. Predictions slipped into the feed like knives hidden in soft words. Some were poetic. He'll choke on his last laugh, the joke still half-formed on his lips. Others were blunt. At 9:47 p.m. tomorrow, she'll fall. I tried to cross-reference them. At first, there was nothing. No proof. But give it a day or two, and the headlines appeared. Local news, obscure Twitter accounts, sometimes even GoFundMe pages. Each one fit the prophecy too perfectly to ignore. And the strangest part? Every time he was right, the comments vanished. Entire threads wiped clean, like nobody had ever been there in the first place. Sometimes the posts themselves disappeared, leaving only the memory of what I'd read. And the usernames mentioned, those accounts always went dark. I started compiling screenshots, desperate to prove it wasn't all in my head. But even my files corrupted. Images I swore I'd saved turned up blank. It was as if the predictions erased their own footprints once they came true. My skepticism withered under the weight of it. I stopped telling myself it was coincidence. Stopped telling myself it was elaborate trolling. because I couldn't laugh anymore, not when the pattern was so clear. He wasn't just predicting deaths, he was cataloging them, and each one carried that same hollow, detached tone, like it was nothing more than a grocery list. I remember sitting there one night, staring at my screen, my stomach heavy with dread. I wanted to close Reddit for good, delete my account, walk away. But some sick part of me couldn't stop checking, couldn't stop refreshing, because the one thought gnawed at me, kept me awake, kept me tethered to that endless scroll of horror. What if, one day, it was my name in the title? I thought I was bracing myself for that possibility. Thought I'd be ready if it ever came. But when it finally did, I wasn't ready at all. It finally happened on a Wednesday night, just past midnight. I was scrolling half asleep, trying to drown out the silence with strangers' stories, when I saw it. My stomach dropped the second I read the title. Username, 11:24 p.m. Saturday. He'll choke on the word he never says out loud. I clicked before I could think, my fingers trembling. The post was longer than usual, written in that same detached tone, but this time it wasn't some faceless stranger. It was me. It listed the most mundane things: the chipped mug on my desk, the brand of detergent I'd used earlier that day, the exact playlist I'd been listening to. Things no one could possibly know. And then the part that froze my blood, it described a shirt. A black one with a red logo I didn't even own. At least, not yet. 2 days later, on autopilot at the mall, I walked straight into a clearance rack, and there it was. The shirt, exactly as described. My hands shook as I pulled it off the hanger. I should have walked away, but some sick, compulsive force made me buy it. It felt inevitable, like I'd just stepped into the script he'd already written. I tried to talk about it. Over lunch the next day, I told a coworker, half joking, trying to sound casual. He predicted my death, I said, forcing a laugh. She frowned. Dude, you read too much creepy crap online. You'll psych yourself out. Another friend on Discord was harsher. Bro, stop feeding the troll. Just log off. Touch grass. I wanted to believe them. I wanted it to be that simple. But every time I tried to dismiss it, I remembered the others. The usernames that went silent, the posts that vanished, the news reports that lined up like tombstones. And Saturday kept getting closer. I stopped sleeping. My eyes burned from the screen glow, my chest tight every time the clock ticked forward. I told myself I wouldn't wear the shirt, that maybe skipping that detail would break the chain. But the more I resisted, the more it gnawed at me. Friday night, I caught myself holding it, the fabric cold and unfamiliar, as if it had been waiting for me all along. I stuffed it in the back of my closet, but it didn't matter. The words replayed in my head. 11:24 p.m. Saturday. He'll choke on the word he never says out loud. I tried to picture what word that could be. My name? A secret? Something I'd buried years ago? By then, I wasn't asking if it would happen. Only how. Saturday loomed like a storm on the horizon, and with every hour that passed, I felt the noose of inevitability pulling tighter. I told myself I'd outsmart him, that there had to be a way to cheat the script, but I was already playing the part he'd written. I didn't wait for Saturday to come. I snapped. The first thing I did was delete everything. My Reddit account, my email tied to it, even the old burner profiles I hadn't touched in years. Wiped. I factory reset my phone, smashed an external hard drive I didn't really need to smash, and for the first time in a decade, I felt naked without the digital noise of my online life. But it didn't help, because that night, logged out, anonymous, with no account left to track, I refreshed the front page, and there it was. A new post by you/final hour. My username still in the title, bold and unavoidable. I couldn't breathe. How did he still have me? So I ran. I packed a bag, booked a bus ticket under a fake name, and left town like a fugitive. My plan, if you could call it that, was to put as much distance as possible between me and whatever algorithm, stalker, or curse was threading my life into those posts. New city, new apartment, new routine. But the posts followed. One morning, the landlord's kid brought me the mail and grinned at me. Nice shirt. It wasn't the shirt I was wearing. It was the black one with the red logo, the one I'd buried in the back of my closet before I left. Another time, sitting in a diner, a waitress asked if I wanted more coffee. Then she froze, brow furrowing. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. I thought you already had a mug in front of you. I did. A chipped one, just like the post had described weeks earlier. It was like the words were bleeding into reality, stitching strangers into the script. I stopped going out. I rented a shitty room above a laundromat, curtains nailed shut, no internet. But even there, I wasn't safe. One night, half asleep, I heard voices outside my door. Two men, talking like they'd just walked out of a thread. He's in there, pacing. Same shirt, same shadows. Won't be long now. When I ripped the door open, the hallway was empty. By then, I was unraveling. My logical brain kept trying to explain it. Confirmation bias, paranoia, some elaborate psyop. But every attempt at rationality collapsed under the weight of the details. Because the more I ran, the more his words came true. It was like the prophecy wasn't predicting events. It was creating them. My resistance only folded me deeper into its jaws. Every move I made already anticipated, already written. Saturday came and went. The exact time, 11:24 p.m., passed with me curled on the floor, shaking, waiting for something to strike. Nothing happened. For a few precious minutes, I thought maybe I'd won. Maybe I'd broken the pattern. Then, at 11:25, a new post appeared. This time, it didn't just predict. It told me directly, running won't change the ending. You'll come to me. And I knew then, I couldn't escape. If I wanted answers, I'd have to confront him. I don't even remember typing the first message. My hands moved like they were on autopilot, my knuckles white against the keyboard. It was late, too late for anyone normal to be awake, and yet I had no doubt he'd see it. Me, who are you? I didn't even have time to blink before the reply appeared. You/final hour. You already know. A cold shiver cut through me. Me, stop. Stop posting about me. Just tell me what you want. The answer came, smooth and instantaneous, like a mirror reflecting my panic. You/final hour. Want? You think this is about want? I stared at the screen. His words had no typos, no hesitation, no humanity. Me, then why? Why me? You/final hour. Because you wrote this. Because you chose this path. My pulse spiked. Me, what are you talking about? You/final hour. You think you're writing to me, but you're only reading what's already been written. You're the echo, not the voice. I froze, staring at the flickering cursor. The room felt smaller, heavier. Me, if you're so powerful, tell me what I'm thinking right now. You/final hour. You're thinking about the knife in your kitchen drawer. Third handle from the left. The one with the black grip. But you won't use it. Not yet. My stomach turned to ice. That drawer existed, exactly as he said. I hadn't told anyone about it. Me, are you watching me? You/final hour. Not watching. Writing. I slammed the laptop shut. My breath came out ragged, like I'd run a mile. But the sound didn't stop. The ping of a new message echoed in the room, even though the lid was closed. When I opened it again, the screen was black except for a single line of text pulsing like a heartbeat. You're not writing this. I am. The words flickered, and for a moment I thought I saw my own reflection in them. Not on the screen, but inside the text itself, like a silhouette pressed between glass. Me, what are you? You/final hour. Not who. When. Me. That doesn't make sense. You/final hour. It will. Soon. The cursor blinked. waiting, like it knew I had no choice but to reply. But I didn't. I just stared, numb. And then a final message appeared, slow this time, as if each word was deliberate. You've run out of moves. The only step left is mine. That's when it hit me. I wasn't talking to a person at all. Not a troll. Not a hacker. Something else entirely. Something that didn't just know my story. Something that was writing it. And it wasn't alone. I thought I was being hunted by a single monster in the dark. A sadistic troll with too much time. Maybe some hacker with access to my camera. But then I dug deeper. His posts weren't random. They were threaded, like a spider web. Old accounts that looked abandoned would suddenly light up again, posting fragments of predictions. New usernames appeared, only to vanish the moment their prophecy came true. Different writing styles, different tones. Yet all of them linked back to the same signature detail. Accuracy too sharp to be human. I found mentions of people who'd gone missing, stories scrubbed from the site before anyone could archive them. Threads where terrified users begged for help, then deleted their accounts within hours. No one talked about it out loud, not for long. It was like something erased the evidence the second the truth got too close. And the deeper I went, the clearer it became. U/Final Hour wasn't a person. Maybe it never was. It was more like a system, a hive, a force that used Reddit like a skin it could wear, cycling through accounts, leaving digital corpses in its wake. Every username it touched became a kind of obituary. Every prediction, a countdown. I wasn't special. I wasn't chosen. I was just next. And the worst part? I wasn't his first story, and I won't be his last. If you've stayed with me this long, then you already know how this ends. Maybe you even guessed it back at the beginning, when I told you this was being written as a kind of obituary. A confession from a dead man walking. The time on my screen matches the timestamp in his last post. I don't have minutes left, only seconds. And every keystroke feels borrowed. It's strange. I used to think I had control over my story. That the choices I made, the things I avoided, the people I loved, they mattered. But sitting here now, I realize I was never steering. I was being steered. My free will was just a carefully written script, and the punchline is carved in digital stone. He knew the shirt I would wear, the place I'd run, the words I'd type, and now, the moment I stopped typing. So here's the only warning I can give you. If you ever see his username, U/Final Hour, after this video ends, don't click. Don't reply. Don't even breathe. Because that's how he finds you. That's how he decides your story is next. Maybe you think this is just a story, just another creepypasta to pass the time. But tell me, why are you still here? Why haven't you clicked away yet? You already know the answer, don't you? Because you're curious. Because you're afraid it might be true. And that's exactly how he writes you in. Wait, there it is. The sound he described, the knock at the door. 3 times. Slow. I didn't tell you that part before, did I? I think. The text cuts off,